I want you all to close your eyes for me. And I can see you, so just do it. All right. I know we just had lunch not too long ago, and I know you guys just had some sweets, but I want you to imagine the perfect cheeseburger. Okay? I want you, and since it's a little cold in here for some of you guys, I want you to be able to pick that cheeseburger up. I want you to feel the heat coming off of it. Right? I want you to think about what's on it. What's on that perfect cheeseburger for you? Did it come with a shake? My favorite cheeseburger has a shake that has Reese's peanut butter cups and Reese's Pieces, and it's real good. But what do you have with your cheeseburger? Did you get fries? Are you more of a cottage cheese kind of person? But anyway, I want you to picture what is on that perfect cheeseburger. All right, you got it? Okay, you can open your eyes. And I know you guys are like, what in the world? What's that got to do with property management? But what it's got to do with property management is that when you, just like you looked at your cheeseburger, I could ask 10 of you in the room, and you'd each tell me something different about what your perfect cheeseburger looked like. And I'm going to tell you that our clients look at us the same way. They all have their own idea of what the perfect property management company looks like. So we don't all have to be exactly the same cheeseburger, right? So what I want to do is I want to kind of move. We're going to build a system that works for us, and we're going to generate additional profits. And one of the key points that I want to focus on is, one of the comments from earlier today that kind of stuck in my mind is that we had somebody that said, well, all these fees and all of this, you know, the airline charging for bags and all of that, I can see where that could cause a little bit of grief for some folks. So that's not where we want to focus. What we want to do is focus on being the most professional that we can with our companies, offering the best service and the most service and satisfying the needs of our clients. In order to do that, we have to, in order to do that, we've got to be able to charge a fee. We've got to be able to fund these things. Quite frankly, Mark has some office space that we could have held this event in that office space. And we would have given the same material, but it wouldn't have been as nice. It wouldn't have been the same experience. We wouldn't have been able to provide some of the things that we provided. We had the caterers that were able to bring in lunch, bring in the snacks, keep the coffee and tea full, have a place for people that flew in and could stay here. And so we had to determine what we were going to provide for this conference. Well, that also determined what we had to charge for it in order for us to be able to pull it off. So I want you to focus on two things. I want you to focus on creating additional income, but I also want you to focus on being a professional. Okay? So I'm not going to go through and read this right off the screen, but we really want to focus on being the professional, not the guy who just marks something up simply because they can. There's got to be a service behind each one of the fees that we implement. Okay? So if that's the definition of professionalism, then this is the definition of a professional. And one of the things I like about this is there's a lot of people that play golf, but there's very few people who earn a living at it. And that's similar to the property management business. There's a lot of people who dabble in the property management business, but there's very few people who are professional enough to earn a living at it. Okay? So if we're going to be profitable, all that means is that we're making money. We're able to fund the type of organization that we want it to provide or to have, and then we're also able to take some money home at the end of the day, which is obviously why we're doing this in the first place. Okay? So profit is just the monetary surplus that's left after we provide all of the high-quality products or services that we're going to provide. Okay, so then to wrap that up, the profitability through professionalism, which is what the theme of this presentation is the ability to earn a profit using the methods of a professional, an expert, as distinguished from an amateur. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to answer a question. Now, this is one of my favorite quotes, and it's kind of quirky, and you have to go way back, and most of you probably won't know who this is, but raise your hand if you know who Admiral James Stockdale is. Okay, so not too many. He was the vice presidential running mate for Ross Perot in 1992. He had no political experience. He was an admiral in the Navy, and as his first time on stage at the vice presidential debate, he stood up there, and I had a video that I played, but it doesn't work on this computer. So, but he stood up at the podium, and he got a great laugh, but he said, "Who am I, and why am I here?" And everybody laughed because everybody was thinking that. They're like, who am I and why am I here? I want to answer that question today as we move forward for each and every one of you. We're going to answer that question by designing with intention the company that we want to be. And by doing this, we can provide better service through proper expectations. We can find new income streams, improve our overall profitability. So what's the first question that other property managers usually ask us when they start talking to us about property management? How many doors? Is that really the number one question that we should be asking? I mean, it's kind of an indicator. Like, Mark runs a much bigger organization than I do, but he also has a lot more employees. He needs more office space. He has a lot more overhead, higher expenses. I think our rent's about the same because he's in Thornton and I'm in a big city. But other than that, he's got a lot more overhead. So I don't think that that's the question that we should be answering or even asking, right? So what should define our companies is our level of profitability while properly setting and meeting our clients' expectations. And we've talked a lot about that today, how to create proper expectations and then how to implement systems that will help us meet those expectations. Okay. So we do this by providing products and services that our clients find beneficial at a price that provides the appropriate level of profit to meet the company income goals. So we're going to talk a lot about fees today. NARPM, which is an organization that I think a lot of us belong to, it is really hesitant to talk about fees. And they're, for violation of antitrust laws, I can't come up to you and I can't say, hey, what's your management fee? Now, I could look on your website and I can find it out. And I know most of my competition's management fees and the way they structure it. But we don't talk about it together and try to come up with what that fee should be for the marketplace. So we're going to talk a lot about types of fees. We're not going to talk about what we actually charge for those fees, okay? So let's go back to our cheeseburger example. And again, I know, how does that relate to property management? Well, here's how. Here's the definitions of a cheeseburger. McDonald's has their own definition of a cheeseburger. We've talked a lot about McDonald's. I'm going to have to switch over to something else because I think we've had too much McDonald's today. But McDonald's has a hamburger, and you know what to expect there. Applebee's also serves a hamburger, and you know what to expect there. How many of you heard of John Elway? Okay, I hope. Come on, it's Bronco country. All right. John Elway retired from the Broncos. He opened a restaurant called Elway's. There's a couple of locations. There's one in Cherry Creek. There's also one at the bottom of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in downtown Denver. They also serve a cheeseburger. McDonald's is the largest fast food chain in the world. They have over 19,000 restaurants. Their brand mission is to be their customers' favorite place and way to eat and drink. That's from their website. Notice it says nothing about the quality of the food. They serve a lot of people, and they have a good job doing it, or they do a good job doing it, but they're not really about the high quality of food. So they're committed to continuously improving their operations and enhancing their customers' experience. Applebee's, they were founded nearly 3 decades ago on principles of exceptional value and family fun. They have nearly 2,000 locations. They differentiate themselves with innovative attractions like Carside to Go, Weight Watchers agreements, and then they're focusing on serving good food to good people. That's the tagline from their website. Elway's is a place where friends, families, and business professionals can celebrate life's victories or just unwind at the end of the day. They have an ever-changing menu, so they've always got something new to try when you go there. Again, they're at the bottom of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. So let's talk about price. Now, I know in our industry, a lot of times when you open up your property management company, you look around and you see what the typical management fee is, and you go, well, that's what the market says the fee is. And so you ask a management company, well, why do you charge that? Why do you charge that fee? Well, because that's what the other guy charges. I got to charge what he charges to be competitive. I don't believe that. I believe you got to charge based on what you're providing, the value that they receive. So McDonald's, you can go through McDonald's, and for about $4.78, you can get a complete, meal, right? In quotes. I don't know if you would eat that on a regular basis, but you can go there and get what you're looking for. You can get your cheeseburger that was perfect for you. You've designed that, and for $4.78. Applebee's, $12.50. You can go to Elway's, right, which is a step up, and get $22.50. Now, what I'm going to tell you is, even though with this example we know that they're not serving the same thing, our clients think when they call and they say, yeah, I got a property, what are your fees? Well, for what? Are you going to serve a McDonald's, Applebee's, or Elway's? And frankly, if you go to Elway's, yes, they have a hamburger, but you're not going to wind up getting a hamburger. You're going to wind up getting a steak. You're going to wind up getting a glass of wine. And what I equate that to is you might attract clients who initially want you to manage their property, but in the end, you're going to wind up selling that property for them if you do a good job. So what I want to say is it doesn't matter what the other guy charges. What matters is the value that you're providing for your client, and then you have to be able to charge appropriately for the level of services. Okay? So just because everybody has a different expectation of what that cheeseburger is, all three of those restaurants can survive and thrive in the same environment. As a matter of fact, over off like 52nd and Wadsworth, there's an Applebee's and a McDonald's in the same parking lot. And if people didn't have a request or a desire to have personalized services or personalized solutions, that wouldn't be able to exist. And that really goes back to, thank you. That really goes back to what we were talking about earlier about making customized solutions available to your clients. I know in the old days, we had one fee that we charged. We charged just a management fee. That's how when we started, when I bought the company. And my company was a mess when I bought it. But when I bought it, we had one fee that we charged. It was a management fee, and we didn't charge for anything else. And we also didn't say what wasn't included in that fee. And so over time, we had to evolve and create additional opportunities for revenue by providing additional services. So to do that, you have to decide, what do you want to specialize in? What type of marketplace, what type of product or property do you want to specialize in? Do you want to be in if this is your marketplace, if you're making money at it, that's great. Do you want to focus in Section 8 properties? I mean, the government pays you a check every month, right? Or that's what I hear. We don't do that. But I hear people that have Section 8 properties, they've got systems that work for that. And can you charge a high management fee? I don't know. But if you want to specialize in that type of property, get really good at it, and then offer solutions specifically to those types of clients. So you have some of these questions in your book, and I specifically gave you room to write. So whether you write it here or go back to your office, as you're starting to answer these questions, I think it's really going to make sense before you start tearing your company apart. It's kind of like, when we were kids, I'm sure we all had an opportunity to play with Legos, and everybody gets the same Lego kit, but everybody builds something different. And that's the same kind of thing with what we're going to do here. We're going to take our businesses apart and then recreate them in a way that makes more sense and is more profitable. And that what you build is really going to be up to you. So you're going to answer, what kind of customers are you currently best positioned to serve? And then what kind of customer do you want to serve long term? And are those two the same thing? And if they're not, what are you going to do to get on that path? If they are, what are you going to do to attract more of those types of clients? Okay, and then what types of products or services can you package and sell at a premium? Somebody was just talking to me, where you at? About the lawn service. Oh, yeah, there you go. She's looking at having an affiliated business that will be able to provide lawn service for the properties that she owns or that she manages. And whether that's through her existing company or through an affiliated business relationship where she's able to take a piece of that profit, you can figure out what type of products and services you can package and then sell separately. What we're going to do today is we're going to decide, or at least give you some information to help you decide what type of pricing model makes sense. A good friend of mine, Steve Crossland in Texas, he has one fee. He still operates under the one fee mentality. And whatever he charges, that's what he charges. And he doesn't offer a lot of additional services. He doesn't offer a lot of customization. And that model's working for him now, but the trends that I see, I mean, if you go to, I'm sure you guys have all been to a yogurt shop recently, frozen yogurt, whatever. They got like 30 toppings there. That's because people want to customize their stuff. You can order customization for your cars. People want to have an individualized experience, and they want to get things that are important to them. So I would suggest if you've got a fixed and firm pricing model where you maybe have a leasing fee and a management fee, I think you're going to be missing the boat moving forward. And you don't have to disclose every single fee up front. What you do is you have a schedule of fees, and then you can address the things on the schedule of fees. But when somebody calls you and says, hey, what are your fees? You can say, well, here are the programs that we offer, and this program is this fee, and this program is this. And then you can get into the details later once they receive your paperwork. So again, what's your message? What do you want to be known for? What type of expert are you? Are you going to be the McDonald's that has 19,000 locations and has 2 million properties? Or do you want to be the smaller company that focuses just on high-end properties or just golf course properties or whatever? And then what makes you different? How do you differentiate yourself from the other people who are going to focus in that area? And then who is your service for? What do they believe? And this is important. If you're going to focus on a specific customer set, you need to know what they believe about property managers. And again, to go back to the cheeseburger example, do they think you're serving up, McDonald's double cheeseburgers, or do they think that you provide a good quality service? And there's a great, one of my new favorite restaurants in downtown is called Crave Burger, and they have a hamburger down there that's called the Cubano. And this is really pretty much irrelevant, but I just love their hamburger so much I'm going to talk about it. So you get a hamburger, you get shredded pork, you get a hot dog, you get cheese, avocado, jalapeno, all this other stuff, and it's it's like.
Get a heart attack for dessert?
Yeah, that you can get that, but it's extra.
Defibrillator on the side.
And that's where I also get the shake that has the Reese's peanut butter cups and the Reese's Pieces. Jason and I went there for lunch the other day for 2 hamburgers. It was $40, but with the shakes. Come on, we got the shakes, but. We go there expecting one thing, and we receive that one thing. So it's just find your customer set, and then make sure that you're presenting the right image and the right message to them. Have they ever spent money on it before? A good question that was presented that I picked up a while ago at a few conferences ago was, have you ever been managed before? If they've never had a property managed before, they don't know what to expect. And if they have had a property managed before, you need to know why they changed and why they're looking for somebody else. Because you need to know, did they expect that person to drive by the property once a week? Or was it a problem with the management company? Were they just looking for a change? Did the other company go out of business? And then does the group know about you getting your message out? And do they trust you? Another question to answer is, will they hire you, your product or service to solve their problem? Because as we had talked about before, there's really only 2 reasons that they're going to hire us. One, to minimize their risk of being an investment property owner, and the other one is to assist them in maximizing their return. And they need to know and be comfortable and confident that you have the ability to do that. And so I thought this was interesting. There's a study that people that buy something on price, just because you give them a lower price doesn't mean that they're going to feel better about it in the end. There was a study done about people who ordered wine, and they did a wine test, and they set 2 glasses up, and they said this one is a $10 bottle of wine, and this one is a $90 bottle of wine, and they asked them to tell them which one tasted better. And they all said that the $90 bottle of wine tasted better because they expected it to taste better because it cost more. And so I would say, just because you think that the people are going to love you more because you gave them the cheapest price, that's not necessarily the case. People will find value when they actually pay for it. We've talked a lot today about systems, policies, and procedures, so I'm going to just kind of gloss over that. But we want to make sure we create the systems that promote the type of company that we want to be. We'll document those systems, and then we'll review the policies and procedures. So we're going to start going back to what we talked about in the beginning about onboarding clients or meeting with prospects. When you meet with a prospect, I always say, who's the expert? We got a lot of McDonald's and planes, I just noticed. We'll have to fix that. We're the experts. A client comes to us because they have a problem and they need a solution. I don't co-manage with anybody. Right? If a landlord wants to tell me where they want to go, they were going to hold the property for 3 to 5 years and then they're going to sell it, I will get them safely and successfully from here to there. But we're not going to sit in the cockpit together and fly that plane together. We're not going to make decisions together. They're going to turn that authority over to me to get them from here to there. And not every client is going to agree to that. Some clients are going to want to, well, I still want to do my own maintenance. Well, no, you don't, and here's why. If they still are adamant about wanting to do their own maintenance, I'm happy to refer them to somebody else. That's not a good fit for my system. I know right now that that's not going to end well, so let's just end it now as friends. But I think setting those expectations up front that we don't co-pilot puts you in control. You still have their best interests in mind. You didn't say, hey, get in the plane, I'll take you wherever I want. It's, I know where you want to go, I know what needs to be done, and I'm going to get you successfully there. Please sit down and strap in and put your tray table up and turn on the fasten seatbelt sign, don't bother me. So what we're going to do is now we're going to start, after we've set the expectations that we're going to control everything, we're going to start talking about how to fund our business, fund the changes that we've been talking about. So we're going to do that with increasing profits with things that we already do. So these numbers are going to be different, vastly different throughout the country. But just to use an example, these numbers are about a year old, and they were from a metro area. Ryan McMakin, Mark just left, I forget the guy's organization, but he goes through and does a survey and finds out the average rent. So in Denver, last year, the average single-family home rented for $1,350, and the average condo rented for $800. Now, to be honest with you, and I again, not to put down anybody's business process or business system, I can't do either one of these. There's no way I can make money on either one of those. I can't make money managing an $800 condo, and I can't make money managing a $1,350 single-family home. And the reason for that is I would have to charge fees that put it way out of my client's ability to agree to pay those fees. So, but if you found those, and we'll use those numbers for our example, based on an example of 10% management fee, and just to be clear, that's not what I charge. That's why I use that example. But based on a management fee of 10%, if you had 100 properties and you had a $50 increase in rent, that would generate an annual management fee increase of how much? I know math is hard.
It is nowadays, but
Huh? You have 100 units, $6,000. And you're also doing a service for your landlords by maximizing their rent. When you put an owner in charge of, well, they've been a good tenant, and I really can't have a vacancy right now, so let's just keep the rent the same. You're not doing a service for your client, because obviously you're rolling the dice a little bit, but 9 times or 95 times out of 100, that tenant is not going to move over a $50 rent increase, especially in this market in Denver right now. We were actually raising rents $200, $250 a month. And it's over the last 2 years, we've had really great rental rate appreciation. And that's why we actually have Jason, 90 days, we get a report, 90 days before every rent is set to expire. We get a list of the owners and a list of the leases that are about to expire. We call the owner, find out if they want to sell, tell them what's going on in the rental market. As long as they don't want to sell, here's what we're going to be trying to bump the rent rate to. We have 2 different rent rates that we propose. We'll have, if the tenant moves out, here's what market rent is. If the tenant elects to stay, we'll give them a little break. And we'll promote that to the tenant when it's time to talk about the rental increase. You know, Mr. Tenant, I'm sure you've heard the news that rents in the market are going way up. And unfortunately, we don't dictate what the rent rate is. The market does. And the market says that the market rate is $1,600. Now, because you have been a good tenant, if you move out, that's what we're going to rent the property for. But because you've been a good tenant, we'll rent it to you for $1,650 or whatever or $1,550, whatever the numbers are. But don't just, and I used to be guilty of this, so maybe I'm the only one, but I used to be guilty of, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. if the tenant's in there, they're good, no maintenance items. I mean, no maintenance items isn't always good, by the way, because that just means maybe they're not reporting them. But we would just let it slide. And it was easy. We took the easy way out. We'd say, okay, well, they're ready to renew. We'll just renew them. We don't have to go out and release it. So we didn't study the market the way we do now. And now we maximize that rent on every single property. And by doing that, we're able to just per 100 properties, we're able to make an extra $6,000 with this example by really doing what we're already doing. Okay, so the next thing that we can do is increase our management fees. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. And if you tell me that'll never work in my market, you're right. If you say, well, I can't do that, my clients wouldn't accept that, you're right. If you come to it from that attitude, you're right. But what I'd like to do is, hey, you spent the money to come here, have an open mind and say, what if? And so as we get to talking about some of these fees and some of these different areas of revenue, come at it from the mindset of what if. And if you were able to do something, how would you structure that? What would it look like? And if just make your notes here so you can go back and review them later, but increase your management fees. And you say, well, that wouldn't work in my market. There's always somebody who's willing to do it cheaper. Right? That guy's not getting what he's expecting, but I bet he's getting a great price on it.
He's going to give that guy a knuckle sandwich.
Yeah, that guy's in for it. So we'll increase our management fees. On 100 properties, if we had the average rents of $1,350, which was from our example earlier, and we had an example of a 0.5% increase in management fees. So wherever you are, you'd increase at 0.5%. Per 100 properties, a 0.5% increase in your management fee generates an annual management fee increase of how much? What's a guess?
5%.
Yeah, $8,100 a year. And what I would say is, when's the last time you've raised your management fees? If you've had the same clients and you've had them for 3 or 4 years or 5 years or 10 years, and you haven't created additional revenue streams, and you're stuck with, I can't do some of this other stuff. I can't roll out these other options of pricing models and stuff like that. Well, then simply go back and write a letter to your clients and state that you're raising your management fees. And if you don't have this in your client or management agreement, you need to put this in starting now in every management agreement you write. I don't remember the exact language that's in ours, but it's basically Cliff Dwellers reserves the right to change the terms under which it agrees to manage this property with a 30-day notice. Failure to cancel this agreement within that term is acceptance of the new terms of how we'd manage it. And that allows us to say, geez, costs have gone up, we're raising our management fees. If you don't cancel, you're accepting it. Your credit card company does that. I mean, there's a lot of other companies that you have agreements with where you've already agreed to whatever their new terms are unless you cancel. And even if you lost 5% of your management clients, somebody had said 5% over here, if you lost 5% of your management clients because of the increase, you'd still break even on management fees and you'd have 5 fewer properties to look after for the same amount of money. So you're either getting some of your time back or you're getting an increase in fees. Either way, it's a win. And your clients are not going to leave you if you're meeting their expectations with the service you provide. Remember, it all comes back to the expectations and the experience. If you're giving them a great experience, they're going to expect to pay a little extra. All right. We've got about an hour to go over a whole bunch of fees. So we can put them up here, and I can fly through them, and you can stop me and say, hey, let's talk more about that. Or I can just keep going through. But if you have a question, if you want to try to implement this, I'd like to see hands raised from the group about how they're doing it. So if we come across a fee and you're interested in that, let's have a discussion. I'd really like to have this last session be a discussion. So management fees we've all talked about. I mean, obviously, everybody charges a management fee, right? Otherwise, you're not really in the management business, you're in the leasing business. So we all have a management fee, a setup fee. Raise your hand if you charge a setup fee.
Thanks to you, I do.
Yep. All right. Raise your hand if you don't charge a setup fee. Why not? Justify why you wouldn't.
Well, my pitch I came from a real estate background, whereas when you get paid, I get paid. And I'm on the higher end, so if there's a range, let's say for an example, 8 to 10% in a market, I'm at the high end of the market. So I say I don't charge a bunch of junk fees, I make it as simple as possible, but I charge on the higher end. So that's kind of been my...
Excellent. So you and I are on the same page. We don't charge a lot of junk fees either, but we do have fees for services. All right. So one of the things that I'd like to point out on a setup fee, it creates buy-in. An investment property valuation, if you work with investors, let me go back real quick. I have never waived a setup fee in the history of our company. What I will do is tell somebody, look, I can't waive it. We've never waived it. It's a company policy that we can't waive the setup fee. But if you pay your setup fee, I'll go ahead and issue you a credit on your leasing fee. And so it gives us a level of commitment. They're saving the money, but it tells me whether or not they're fully committed to moving forward with us. Investment property evaluation. If you're working with investors or you're working with real estate agents that have an investment property or that are looking to purchase an investment property, I should say, charge them a one-time fee. And then if they wind up doing business with you, you give them a credit. But don't have real estate agents in your market say, hey, I have a client who is looking to purchase an investment property, and I'd like you to come out and take a look at it and tell us what it would rent for. Well, we'd be happy to do that. And of course, if we wind up managing that property, we'll issue that as a credit. But you can, charge for your service. You're an expert. Charge for your service. Yeah. So what we're going to talk about on these fees, I don't want you guys to think, oh my Lord, Klein up there, he charges every single one of these. No, I don't. I charge some of them. I'm not going to tell you which ones. It's up for you to decide which ones fit for your business model. So these are just fees that we've heard of along the way. And I know that if I don't know somebody that's charging it, it's not up here. So every one of these fees is working in some market somewhere. And so that's, I want to make sure that we get that out, that my company doesn't charge all of these fees. We charge some of them. So a leasing fee. Raise your hand if your market doesn't support a leasing fee. Okay, I'm surprised. What's that?
I'm going to say half and half.
Half and half? Yeah, I was surprised because I've heard that Idaho is fairly competitive and you can't charge a leasing fee.
Well, we have companies that do.
That was going to be my point. A court appearance fee. Do you guys go to court on behalf of your clients? Yeah? Do you do that for free? Yeah? Yeah. Our management agreement specifically excludes that. Now, we'll do it. So the things that we exclude in our management agreement, it doesn't mean that we won't do it. What it means is it's not covered under our management fee. And we'll negotiate a rate that's appropriate at that time.
You get the pushback of like, you rented the guy, like shouldn't you have to go to court? You got to evict him.
Yeah. If we had that situation, what I would say is, we process every tenant through the exact same screening process. We've processed thousands of tenants. I think you and I can agree that 99 times out of 100 is pretty good odds, right? If you happen to draw that short straw and we have to go through court and evict them, I can either charge everybody in anticipation that we're going to go to court, or I can just have a fee for that service in the event that you're the one that draws that short straw. Termination fee. When a manager has to terminate a property or the landlord terminates with the management company, there's a lot of work that goes into that. Preparing the package for the next management company or that owner, the phone calls you get for, hey, what's this? Or there's some additional responsibility there. And we talked about especially if it ends, the management agreement ends at the last day of the lease, which maybe we're the only ones. Maybe I need to get some suggestions on how to fix that. But because of the way our management agreement is written, they're responsible for paying us a termination fee, or 80% of the management fees that would have applied during the term of that management agreement if they terminate early. And the reason for that is we offer two programs, leasing and full service property management, and we give them a discount on their leasing fee if they go with our full management. So if they cancel that early, we have to recoup some of that cost because we gave them a discount for something they're not fulfilling. So we do have a termination fee, and some of that can include getting the property Our management agreement includes managing, getting a property rent ready. But if they're terminating with us, we're not getting the property rent ready. So we don't keep moving with that process forward once they've terminated. So think about the work you're putting into it, and does it make sense to charge a termination fee? Again, you can always waive these. I think Jason and I, we did one last week where we said, look, Dave, you've been a great client of ours. We really appreciate your business. This is the property actually that we turned down because the guy wanted way too much money on the sales price. Turns out he got it. Oops, that was our bad. We didn't think he could get it. So he went with another agent, and the other agent wanted to put the property on the market a couple months early. And so we had our termination fee. We explained what it was, and we said, look, you've been a great client. I tell you what, we could waive that for you in exchange for just going on to one of the review sites and just giving them an honest opinion of how it was working with us. He did that. We waived the fee. So we used it as leverage. He got a win. We got a win. Lease renewal fee. Anybody charge a lease renewal fee? Anybody not charge a lease renewal fee? All right, so there's some people that are competitors in my marketplace. So I assume that some point this will be used against me, but I'm going to share with you my lease renewal process. My lease renewal fee is exactly the same as my leasing fee. And sometimes we'll have owners ask, well, why is it so much? All you had to do was sign the paperwork. But that's not accurate. What we had to do was maintain a positive relationship with that tenant throughout the term of their lease, which, yes, that's what they're paying us for, but it's not about us, it's about our landlord. And if we're able to minimize their turnover costs by not having a turnover and minimize their vacancy costs by not having a vacancy, we've actually earned our leasing fee more than if we had to put somebody in there new and had some leasing. And what I never want it to appear that I make more money when my client's property goes vacant. I want to make sure that we're very closely aligned. So on any lease that gets signed, our fee's the same. And we really don't get pushback on that. Maintenance markup, I know there are companies in here, so let's talk a little bit about maintenance. Raise your hand if you do any maintenance markup. You have other companies that do it, you just re-invoice it or just add it, okay? So you can do maintenance markup or you can do a vendor discount, which is basically the reverse. You find out what their market rate is, you negotiate rates, you state in your management agreement that you retain all discounts. You would also, along those same lines, the affiliated business relationship. If you are, at least in Colorado, if you're investing in another business that provides services to your clients and you're a licensed real estate broker, you have to disclose that on an annual basis to the Real Estate Commission, and you have to disclose it in your management agreement that you will on occasion use an affiliated business. Move-in inspection fees. I didn't change the wording on this one. It's in the wrong section, sorry. But this was a fee that I had heard in Minneapolis. Their fee structure is very, very low on their management fees. And so what they've done to make up for that is their management fees are extremely low, and they have a flat fee regardless of the property. And so the way that they make up for it is they'll actually charge a fee to the owner for moving them in and completing the move-in inspection fee. Same thing, move-out inspection fee. Insurance claim admin fees. Do you guys cover when your owners have a hail claim on a roof or something like that? Is that just a part of your management fee? You just do it? Okay. A lot of people don't, but I have heard of people that it's just part of the process. I charge what I charge. I manage the property. I just take care of it. I would say that goes way over and above any type of normal management activities. So you need to be able, if you're going to be involved in an insurance claim, there needs to be a separate fee paid for that. Advertising fee when a property goes vacant. A couple of different ways I've heard this work. You have the ability to charge when their property's vacant. Other people charge a fee for, Mark, how's yours structured? It's basically when it's vacant. When it's vacant. But it's not specifically tied to marketing their property. It just, yes, it is. It is? Okay, maybe it was Lyle. I don't remember who I was talking to, but somebody had it where they would charge if they're marketing just their property, and so you could point to here's the property that I'm marketing. And other people said, well, your property's vacant. there's an X dollar fee when your property's vacant. We apply that to our general marketing budget, and then we just do a global marketing for all the properties. So they don't specifically say, here's the ad that you bought with your marketing. Periodic inspection report. This goes back to something I was saying earlier. How many of you guys do regular inspections on the properties, whether it's once a year, twice a year, every quarter? And is that included in the management fee?
Yeah. No.
It is. Okay. For us, it's not. We assume if the tenant's paying their rent and we've had no lease violations, that because of the right to their quiet enjoyment, we'll leave them alone. Now, if the landlord requests that we go inside the property, we're happy to do so, and we'll offer them a property condition report. And that's where I talked about earlier. They can tell us how many times they want us in the property. So if they want us to go in one time a year, there's a set price. They want us to go in twice a year, well, they get a discount each time, but it's still more for the company if they go in twice. If they want us to go in quarterly, well, yeah, they get a discount for each time, but even that is more annually. And then we still always have the ability to waive that. But you're setting a value for the price so that landlords don't just say, hey, my neighbor called me again, and the tenant's leaking oil in the driveway. Can you go check? Or whatever it is. Yeah, we have the ability to do that. We'll send you a property condition report, fill it out, tell us how many times you want us to inspect, and we'll use our first one to go out there this Thursday. Eviction protection fee. Now, I know those of you in California, before you tell me you can't do that, you can't do that. But the rest of us can do that. So does everybody know what eviction? Raise your hand if you don't know what eviction protection is, or you don't do it.
No, I don't do it.
Okay. Okay. So one of the questions might be on eviction protection when you're trying to promote that to your client. We give it as an optional fee. It's one of the few things that we do have on our management agreement as a set check box. Do you want this or do you not want this? And again, going back to that 99 times out of 100, we're really good with screening. We do very few evictions. But if the loss or the additional expense of performing an eviction, which in the state of Colorado is going to take between $400 and $800 and take between 22 and 40 days, if it's going to affect your cash flow to have to spend that money at the same time that most times when we do an eviction is for non-payment of rent. So you're not going to be getting income and you're going to have additional expenses. If that's going to be a heartache for you, again, we do a really good job screening. 99 times out of 100, people change jobs, they lose their jobs, life circumstances happen. If that tenant's life circumstance is going to affect you in a negative way where you're going to have a hardship because you have that additional cost when you're not collecting rent, we have a program for that. In the event that we place a tenant in one of your properties and that tenant needs to be evicted, we'll go ahead and cover the cost of that eviction. And we'll cover that cost except for, in the fine print is, if they request a jury trial. And I've never had anybody do that. So the next step of that is, and do we have any questions on the eviction protection before I move on?
So you're not covering the rents, you're covering the process.
Correct. The $400 to $800, the two guys to move the furniture out to the front while the sheriff stands there, we'll cover that. The court costs, the attorney's fees, that kind of thing. Great.
Curiosity, maybe I can't ask, is that usually a percentage of the rent or a flat fee?
This one is a flat fee. Most of my stuff is, well, I don't know, it's kind of half and half. But this particular one is a flat fee. This is a great profit center, and it provides a great service. We rolled this out when the economy changed. And you have landlords that used to be financially stable that were no longer so. We rolled this out. We had a lot of people take advantage of it. The great part about it is when you sign up a new client and they go, well, how many people, do people normally do that? Yeah, they do. But if it's not right for you, it's not right for you.
When you rolled it out, did you do like an opt-out?
Yes.
You did?
Yep. Yeah,
I'm excited to go out for it.
we did a ton of changes all at once.
I'm worried about pissing people off. Like, hey, you all have this now, if you want to opt out.
Well, if they all opt out, so what?
Well, I'm more worried about them getting opted in and not wanting to be in.
So what we did was we actually started this process. We rolled it out January 1st of 2011. this particular fee. And along with that, we rolled out a brand new management agreement that would allow us to change the terms within 30 days. And we justified that with some of the new regulations that were coming down. And we wanted to make sure that we were able to stay in compliance, and rather than have them have to send a new management agreement in every single year or every time something changed, we wanted the ability to just send them a notice, and if they accepted that notice, then we'd just move forward. So building up to that, we started in probably August, and I sent them a letter. Great news, we're rolling out a new software system, we're rolling out some other changes in the business, we're really excited. We're going to tell you more about it in the months to come. But be aware that our business is going to drastically change, and it's all for the better. And then the next letter we sent on green, like a mint green paper, and it was just something to catch their attention. And we gave them a little bit more detail of what was in it. And then right before that, we sent out I think it was November, we sent out the new management agreement, the 1st of November. And then the ones that didn't return it, of course, we had to do the follow-up and the calls. And I had a few people, I had probably 5 people that had questions. I had one guy that wouldn't sign our new management agreement, and I think he's like 76 or something. He's a great client of mine, a little bit crotchety, but if you stand up to him, he kind of laughs and backs down. So, and we've done a lot of business with him. So up until I think it was about 1.5 years ago, and now all of his properties are on that management agreement, because he purchased some new ones, and I told him I wouldn't manage them unless we got all of them on the same agreement.
For you is you provide them to every one of your clients.
Provide what?
Eviction protection.
We provide the option for it.
Oh,
Yeah, but when I rolled it out, it was for your protection. If you fail to check either box, you will be enrolled automatically. Yeah. So if you're enrolled in the eviction, yeah. If you look at this, does this look like a junk fee? I mean, in your honest opinion, does that look like something? Or are we actually offering a service that's a valued service that could help one of our landlords at a time when they could have a cash crunch? That's the way I look at it. We're offering it as an optional service. It's not mandatory, but we provide them the opportunity to take advantage of this program. And in doing so, this is a great, great profit center for us. Because if we do our job right, we're not doing a ton of evictions. Okay, so to add on to this, if you're enrolled in this program, we offer an additional service. You have to be enrolled in the eviction protection, but then there's a secondary level. In the event that we have to file for an eviction, the moment we send that paperwork off to the attorney, we'll write you a check for the next 30 days worth of rent. Of course, you got to be in the eviction protection program, and then you can enroll in the 30-day rent loss protection. So you can have a 30-day rent loss or a 60-day rent loss. And what I've found is an old Tom Hopkins sales thing, but if you give people 3 choices, they'll pick the middle one because it's the safest. So we have a lot of people that sign up for our 30-day rent loss protection. And again, it's a service. We're providing them with rent. How many people actually wind up using it? Not a ton, because we do a really good job of screening. We do a really good job communicating our rent policy. Rent's due on the 1st. It's late on the 2nd. There's a late fee that's incurred from the 2nd through the 6th. That's a per day basis. On the 6th, it converts to a percentage of the monthly rent. And all of that late rent is retained by the company because it's a late fee. And it's considered overtime pay for us to have to chase down that rent. Because remember, the management fee covers the processing of collected rents. If I have to go out and chase that rent, then that's what the late fee is for. It's so that I can make sure that I can collect that rent for the landlord, and we retain the additional fees that would cover our efforts to do so. So the rent loss protection, again, they sign up for that. That's a monthly percentage of the monthly rent, because obviously if I'm paying out based on their rent, I've got to be able to charge a percentage based on their rent. A lot of us take on properties with an existing tenant, right? If you've got an existing tenant on a lease that's not your lease, that does not conform to your systems. That property is inconsistent with your portfolio, and you need to get it consistent with your portfolio. If the tenant won't sign one of your leases, fine, you'll manage that for the remainder of that lease, and then you'll either get them on your lease or get them moved out. But that's additional tracking that you have to do to make sure that you're providing a good quality service. You've got to have new and different systems in place for that one property. You need to charge a fee for that.
You're taking on liability from a prior person.
Absolutely. Yep. Equipment rental fee. I don't know about you guys, but my number one enemy in my business is water. If you can imagine managing in a high-rise complex, I either got water leaking in from the guy upstairs that I can't contact because I don't know his name because the HOA won't give it to me, or my tenants are leaking water into the unit down below, and I got to figure out how to get a hold of that guy and find out, if we can get access to his property to help remediate the damage. So one of the things that would be beneficial is if you have fans or you have equipment that you can take out to the property and set them. I mean, disaster recovery companies they charge a fortune. And if you have equipment that you're going to drop off, charge them a fee for that. Even if you have to send somebody out, charge them to send somebody out, but use your equipment. Video marketing fee. How many of you guys are doing videos with your new properties or your vacant properties? If you're not, you better get on it. I guess this depends on the age of your tenant, but millennials don't read anymore. Well, at least not longer than 2 or 3 sentences. But if you put a video out there, they'll watch the video. And something else that I was watching the other day said, we all we have our big screen TVs, and so we're used to having things in landscape. Well, if you notice, a lot of the videos that are posted, not for real estate, but for other reasons, if you see the younger crowd, they just hold their phone like this and they video a portrait. And so somebody, and I haven't tested this, but somebody had said recently that the videos that are posted, if you took a video of the same property and you took one landscape and one portrait, the one that's videoed in portrait mode will have a longer view span because tenants are looking at it on their cell phone and it fits their cell phone better and they like to hold it like this. They don't want to have to read your website, click the link, and then turn their phone. So they actually just click the link and watch it like this. I don't know. I'm just passing on information, but that's the information I got. So video marketing fee, video inspection fee. You could go through and do your move-out inspection. You can have your paperwork. You can do documentation photos. If you have an owner that lives out of state, though, and he'd like to have you do a video, just a video walkthrough of the property in between tenants, you could charge a fee for that. You could pay out a referral fee for management clients. How many of you heard I manage property in the downtown Denver market? Right? I've made that pretty clear, right? So if you guys have a client that wants management in downtown, we do pay a referral fee. Not to Idaho, because you have to be licensed. But if you're licensed, we would. But yeah, send me a referral. We'll pay a referral fee. I do that with other people in other parts of the market because, again, I don't really go to Thornton, so I'd send it to Mark or whatever. I stay focused on where I am, so you can go and work with other property managers that are close to your market. I've got a good friend that is in Castle Rock, and I'm not going to go to Castle Rock, and he's not going to come up to Denver. And so anytime we've got an opportunity, I'll send it his way, and sometimes he takes it, sometimes he doesn't, and vice versa. But just knowing the other management clients around you. Referral fees for sales clients. I think we had this question earlier, but if you were not doing sales as well, raise your hand. Okay. I'm sure you guys have evaluated that business decision. I would say on the plane home, evaluate it again. I know you get a lot of referrals on the management side, but if you got 10 referrals from other agents, sales agents, and you think of what you're going to make from those 10 agents over 5 years or whatever, and you looked at your management fees, and then you looked at what you would get if you sold one of your own clients' properties, if you started adding up the differences, you're going to see that you are leaving a lot of profit on the table. And so if you don't either do sales yourself, you need to have an agent that you have a referral agreement with that you're sending all those clients to and getting a referral back. Property site visits for sales agents. I hate when one of our clients, and this is on us, when a client will call and say, hey, I've decided to put the property on the market, so I've got a sales agent that's going to call you and I need you to meet them at the property so they can kind of take a look at it and see what it'll sell for or whatever. Can you give them, or can you call the tenants and tell them they're going to be there at 4 o'clock? That's not a part of management. That's actually a part of a sales transaction. So if I'm going to have to do anything for another sales agent outside of my company, I should be able to charge for that time because that's not a part of the normal management of that property. Rapid rent processing fee. Our rents are, as I said, due on the 1st, late on the 2nd. And so that we generally have a fairly good rental payment schedule. I mean, most of our tenants are paying on the 1st or the 2nd. But if you, and so as we process that, we have to pay our vendors and take out our management fees and make sure that all the invoices are correct and do all the accounting stuff. And so if you have an owner that wants to get their rent prior to your normal disbursement day, I mean, you could set up additional systems for that. I stepped in it a little bit with a client because she was having a hardship, and we said we would do that. We said, yeah, I understand you're having a hardship. So outside of our normal practice of dispersing on the 10th of the month, I will do my best to check the accounts, and when your tenant's rent has cleared, and her tenant was paying electronically, and so when it would clear, we'll disperse your money. And we were really good at it for the first couple of months. And then I think it fell on a weekend or something when the check cleared and we didn't follow up. And she got really upset with us. And, you know, we should never have agreed to do that. And if we did agree to it, we need to have a system in place to track that. So if you're going to have that, you can offer that as a service, but charge a fee for that and then actually implement the systems to follow through.
One thing that helps us with that program, we don't accept personal checks
Sure.
at all.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll still take a check if somebody wants to mail one in, and I'll get to why we do that in just a minute. And somebody else asked me about how to pay for your software. Remind me of that when we talk about that. HOA meeting attendance. So if they request you to go, hey, I think there's some weird stuff going on with my HOA, can you go attend that meeting? Do you want to say no? Well, yeah, we can do that. In our schedule of fees, there's a fee of X. We'll be happy to do that. I'll take a recorder, I'll record it, I'll put it up on Google Docs when we're done. You can download it and listen to it. Furnace filter replacement fee. In our lease, obviously, the tenant's responsible for replacing the furnace filter, but do they always do that? Maybe, maybe not. The price of paying for a quarterly furnace filter replacement is a whole lot cheaper than buying a new furnace. And so if they would elect to have us change that, you could charge for that as well. And then you take it off the tenant's hands. Flip side of that is you can charge the owner part and then also go out, and if the tenant hasn't done it, or you do it as a convenience for the tenant for clean air, you're going to make sure that the furnace filter is replaced. You could also tie in a site inspection visit for that. You know, you can go to a property once and charge several fees for that. Urine processing. Does anybody charge a fee to process the 1099s and prepare their urine statement? No? Okay. I don't either, honestly, but there are companies that do that. Yeah. It is a requirement.
We call it an annual administrative fee.
Yeah, we don't say we're doing just your preparation of the 1099, but yeah, it's an annual processing fee, preparing administrative fee, helps you prepare the paperwork for their accountant.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, so let's switch gears to tenant-related fees. Obviously, make sure that your management agreement states that you retain all tenant-related fees. I mean, it's pretty blanket statement, but it covers everything that you could possibly come up with. Our owners hire us to manage their properties and collect rents. They receive all the rents. So when Melissa was talking about the month-to-month fee, that's really additional rent for the convenience of staying month to month. You could justify collecting it as a fee internally for having to manage that, but we'll pay that out as additional rent. And so that's what the landlord gets. Anything else that's earned from application fees to pet rent, any of that is retained by the company. So we talked about application fees. Obviously, I think everybody in here probably charges an application fee, and if you don't, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand because you're going to go back and start charging an application fee. Month-to-month fee, we talked about that. It's a monthly fee charged at the end of the lease term, and again, you could either retain that or provide that over to the landlord. Posting fee or notice delivery fee. I don't know if I put it on this slide or if it's on another slide, but how many of you guys show occupied properties once they give their notice? Okay. Not everybody does that, and I see some that don't. As soon as we require a 60-day notice, so once they give their 60-day notice, we begin showing the property. In their lease, it states that we can give them a 2-hour notice between the hours of 9 and 6 to show the property. It also states in their lease that any lease violation will incur a lease violation fee. And we use a third-party service to schedule all our showings through. So we'll do it, but we were involved in a lawsuit where we were sued for about $130,000 for pipes that broke in a unit. And turned out we were able to show that we weren't the last ones in the unit, the owners were. And because we had this third-party service, because I always wanted to track anytime somebody was in our property. So whether it was a vendor or our staff. And so we were able to get out of that, and it didn't cost me anything. My insurance paid out $8,000 to make it go away. But what the other benefit to that is I have a third party tracking when we're trying to set up showings. And so during that time when you want to show the property and they go, oh, it's just not a good time, my dog's sick, and so I'm just not going to let you show the property today. Well, that's fine. We have the right to do that. I'm not going to fight you on that. Just remember that there is a lease violation fee, and not allowing the showing today is a violation of your lease. Consider this your notice. We'll just post it to your account. You can pay it with the rent. Late fees, I think we talked about that. There's 3 ways to work the late fee. We retain the late fee, as I talked about. I have no heartache or heartburn explaining that to the landlord. If I have to have staff that's going out there and chasing down late rents, I can charge for it one of 2 ways. I can either build it into everybody's management fee, and then you're paying for it whether you need it or not, or I can charge it on an as-is basis, and I can charge you as the landlord, or I can charge the tenant. Which would you prefer? And they're going to say, well, I don't want to pay for that. I say, great. Then what we do is we retain the late fees to cover that extra effort. Roommate removal fee. I'm sure you guys get requests to swap out roommates. We'll have a fee to remove a roommate. And guess what? They usually want to add a roommate, so we charge a fee to add the roommate as well. NSF fee, fairly standard. I think you guys are charging that. Make sure that it's within what's allowable by law, but I'd also make sure that it's a little bit painful. Payment plan fee. You could offer a payment plan. Different parts of the market. I won't do this. If my tenants can't pay rent, they got to get out. But I know that not every market is the same. And so if you have to set somebody up on a payment plan, that's extra work that you have to manage. So I would charge a fee to administer that payment plan. Lockout fee. Somebody locks themselves out. Before we implemented this, so now we have a 24-hour emergency hotline that they call. And when I first did it, it was great. I did it for free. I set up a Google Voice number, which is free. You can go on, create a Google Voice account. And on that message, it says, leave a message. And if this is deemed an emergency, our team will be alerted and you'll receive a call back. And on that message, we said that lockouts, unfortunately, are not considered an emergency. An emergency is defined by fire, flood, uncontrolled running water, or blood. And basically, the only thing I have to worry about is uncontrolled running water, because anything else, call the police. I can't do anything about a fire, I can come bring the marshmallows, but that's it, call the right people. But we used to, before we started charging a lockout fee, people would go out and party in downtown, and then they'd go back to their loft or condo, and I'd get a call at midnight, and even if I didn't respond to it, I'd still have to get 3 or 4 calls before they figured out that it really was, true, that I'm not going to get up at 12 at night or 2 in the morning and go let them in their apartment. So anyway, if you are going to do something like that, make sure that you're charging a lockout fee. They'll only do it once, unless you're one of our tenants who did it 4 times before we finally raised the fee enough they put a lockbox out themselves. Rekeying the property. If a tenant rekeys the property without your consent, you could charge them a fee. You could also, I've heard of other companies that will charge, say, hey, you move in and we're going to charge you the fee to rekey the property. And you can charge them that when they move in, or you could say, we're going to charge you the fee when you move out. I've seen it done both ways. Rapid security deposit fee. In Colorado, the state law is we have to return the security deposit within 30 days unless otherwise stated in the lease, up to 60 days. So our lease states 60 days. So we have 60 days to return the security deposit. If a tenant's really in a bind and wants it early, well, that's outside of our normal system. Our normal system gives us 60 days to process all the invoices and everything. If you'd like us to process a rapid security deposit disposition, doesn't mean you're going to get your security deposit back. It just means we're going to do all of the processing earlier. You can charge a rapid security deposit fee. Pet administration fee. You could charge a fee to that tenant for just them having a pet in the property. And are you going to have to go do a pet inspection once a month? Well, maybe you go and inspect it. So that's up to you what service you provide for that. But in Colorado, 60% of the tenants have a pet of some kind. Or actually, 60% of the households in Colorado have a pet. I don't know how that's defined, tenant versus landlord. It seems like all the tenants have a pet. But tenants aren't pets aren't a protected class, right? So you can say either no pets, or you can say, yeah, we'll take a pet, but there's extra work involved. Not only are we going to take a pet deposit for our owner, which we don't call a pet deposit, actually we call an additional deposit for the pet, but we're also going to charge a pet administration fee either one time up front or on a monthly basis. This is one that I heard, so I added it. Somebody from Colorado Springs told me about this one. Yeah, so they charge a pet blacklight fee. So when you move in, they'll do a blacklight fee or blacklight test video, and then when you move out, they'll do the same thing, and they'll charge that to the tenant. And that way the tenant has proof that their little Fido was a great dog. Usually it turns out that Fido wasn't a great dog and peed everywhere, but they charge the tenant for that. We talked about the pet inspection fee, the furnace filter replacement fee, utility transfer fee. So in our market, we want to control that. We want to make sure that the energy or the electric and gas is taken out of the owner's name and put in the tenant's name. We don't want to leave that to the tenant because, oops, they might forget, and then I have to deal with the landlord calling and saying, how come I'm still getting this utility bill? So we want to take that on. And as a part of our lease, we have a utility transfer fee. And it just pays the time for my staff to sit on the phone with Xcel Energy and actually transfer it out of the landlord. We have a landlord agreement, so we can transfer it back and forth between the landlord and tenant during vacancies. But again, we're providing a service to both of them, and we're getting paid a fee for doing so. This is one that I'm ashamed that I don't charge, but there's a lot of people that do charge a lease admin fee, especially in my market where there's a lot of apartments. Almost all apartments are charging a lease admin fee.
To the tenant?
To the tenant. Yep. Right?
Yep, I charge it.
Yeah.
We get maybe one complaint a year.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are doing it now, so it's kind of standard.
Yeah.
Here. Oh my gosh.
Yep. So it's a fee for preparing the lease on the tenant's behalf. I don't know. We don't charge it. Some people I respect do charge it, and they've been doing it for a while, so I'm going to say it works out well. Lease renewal fee, it's kind of the flip of charging it to the landlord. You just bump it up a little bit, charge it to the tenant. It's just kind of like instead of the lease admin fee, it's a lease renewal fee. Move-in video fee, if the tenant requests to have a video done, you could video it with them in it so they can document the condition of the property when they take possession. You could send somebody over there. I mean, really, it's just more incriminating evidence, but if they think that they can use that when they move out, you could charge that to them. Appliance rental fee. I got to grab a little bit more water here. Appliance rental fee. We had a property in my market. You have to have a refrigerator in the unit. Not every market does, but in our market, that's pretty standard. So if you were trying to rent out a property without a refrigerator, it's just not going to rent. likewise, the tenants expect a washer and dryer in the unit as well. We had a property that the landlord couldn't afford to go buy washer and dryer. He could previously, but he had suffered some financial hardship. And so we had a business relationship with him already. And he didn't have a washer and dryer. And we kept getting the feedback that tenants would like to rent the property, but it didn't have a washer and dryer. So we offered to actually purchase a washer and dryer, and then we leased it back to the owner. And then I think after, 14 months or something, he wound up owning it. So it was just another way to help fill the vacancies. We provided a service. Obviously, we made a profit on it because otherwise it doesn't make sense to take on the additional risk without the additional profit. Okay, convenience fee. How many of you offer multiple ways for your tenants to pay rent? Okay. Electronic, you guys offer electronic? How about writing a check? They can write a check. Can they personally deliver it to your office? Okay. So find out which way your tenants want to do it the most. And since you give them options, charge a convenience fee for the one that is most convenient for them. And that'll pay for your software. Our software that we use is Propertyware. I think our bill is like $300 a month, something like that, with some of the extra services. That's paid for by my tenants' convenience fees. Because when they go to pay rent, there's just a small little fee on there. And they don't have to pay that. They can bring the check into the office or they can mail it. But if they want to pay online, it's convenient for them. A lot of other people that do online processing, they charge a convenience fee. So it's nothing new to them. They just see it on there. We provide that. And that allows me to provide the software that gives the online portal, allows the landlord and tenants to have their portals. The tenants can go online now and process maintenance requests and that kind of thing. So my convenience fees totally cover the cost of that software.
Do you find though that they pay by check, which I don't want them doing? That they put it in the mail versus paying a 1 or 2% or whatever it is?
Well, mine is less than $10. Okay,
Right.
so.
But you can mail it for 48 cents. So it's principle.
Okay,
but you deal with a lot of younger.
50-year-olds can mail it.
Yeah.
50-year-olds can mail it for 48 cents.
30-year-olds are going to.
30-year-olds don't know where to buy a stamp.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's just the truth.
It is.
They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
What's an envelope? You mean I got to buy a box of envelopes? Aren't you going to send me envelopes? I mean, if I got to mail you something, aren't you going to send me an envelope to mail it in?
My 28-year-old daughter put the stamp on the wrong side of the envelope and she had to mail her wedding invitations.
All right.
She said, "Don't mail anything."
All right. Okay, so I got to kind of wrap up here, so I'm going to fly through these last ones. A tenant holdover fee. If they're staying past, make sure you have it in your lease that somebody's getting a holdover fee. A reletting fee. If they're breaking the lease, this is a big one for us, so I want to spend just a second on this. If they don't honor the full terms of the lease, somebody's going to have extra expenses, and it's going to be your landlord or your tenant. If your landlord has honored the terms of their agreement that they had with the tenant, then it should be the tenant's responsibility to pay for any additional fees. Since we charge a leasing fee to the landlord, we're going to collect a reletting fee from the tenant to cover those extra expenses. And our reletting fee is actually about twice what it costs, or about twice what our leasing fee is. And so a tenant, when they're still responsible for the full term of the lease until they get it released, or until we get it released. So the landlord is going to be made whole. I always make sure the landlord is made whole when we have a tenant that breaks their lease if we've collected a releasing fee. But if they're going to get out of their lease, it's in their lease that they're going to be charged a reletting fee. Eviction administration processing fee. If you have to evict somebody, you have additional services. That's not necessarily a requirement for the terms of the lease. So if you have to process an eviction in your lease, make sure you have an administrative fee that covers that. Verification of rent fee. If you get a verification of rent because somebody's buying a house, you could have a fee for that. Again, I don't charge all of these. I'm just saying these are the options and fees that people in our market or in the marketplace do. Deposit reduction fees. Somebody wants to do half deposit. You could charge them. You got to be prepared to cover the other half of the deposit for the tenant or for the landlord in the event that the tenant bails. But it's a way to charge a fee. The tenant puts down half a deposit. In the event that there's damage, it comes out of that half deposit first. and then you would cover out of your own pocket the remainder. But if you were doing this on a regular basis, you'd have enough to cover the expenses plus make a fee. Split the deposit into payments, move out, mow. So you could allow the tenants, hey, I know you're going to move. You got a lot of time that is going to be taken up by your moving. So don't worry about shoveling the snow or doing the final mow. We'll go ahead and schedule that on the last day that you're there. We'll go ahead and schedule that. Here's the fee for it. If they don't take all the trash with them, obviously charge them a trash out fee. And then I'm going to skip that last one. So here's what I want you guys to do now. We've spent a lot of time today. I'm going to open it up to some general discussion here in a minute, and I'll have Mark come back up. But really what I want you to do now is define the target clients that you want to serve. Intentionally create and implement the systems that will support that market. Train your team to be able to handle the new business model, and then charge appropriately to meet your company's income goals.